Aloha and welcome to today's presentation. My name is Abigail from the Developmental Disabilities Division Training Unit, and I would like to express my gratitude to all of you who signed on today and took time out of your busy schedule. Before I hand the mic over to our presenters, I have a few quick housekeeping announcements. First of all, this presentation will be available on our website at health.hawaii.gov/DDD. Next, to allow for a smooth presentation, all lines will be muted. In the next few slides, I will be sharing additional features available on today's webinar platform. So once again, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed today's presentation. Mahalo.
Closed captioning is available for today's presentation. To enable this feature, first of all, look for your Zoom toolbar on the bottom of your screen. Next, click on the live transcript CC icon. Next to the icon, you should be clicking the little caret right next to it. Click on Show Subtitle. The closed caption should be enabled on the bottom of your screen. To disable this feature, go ahead and also click on Hide Subtitle. Please note, auto captions will not always transcribe with 100% accuracy. DDD will do its best and accurately caption the video when the video is posted to the DDD website. For today's webinar, we will be using the chat function to provide you with valuable links and handouts for today's presentation. Please locate the chat window by clicking on the talking bubble icon, which is located in the Zoom control panels below. Next, to allow for a smooth presentation, all lines will be muted. However, we still like to hear from you. If you have a question for our team, please feel free to send it through our Q&A window, which is also accessible through the Zoom control panels on the bottom of your screen. So type your questions away, and our panelists will be answering your question at the end of today's formal presentation. If we don't get to your question during today's webinar, we will be providing you with an email address for you to reach out and ask any follow-up questions. Our live webinar will be starting now. Once again, thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoy this presentation. Mahalo.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Leolinda Iokepa, and I will be one of your co-hosts today. I am joined this morning from Mary Brogan, and you'll hear from her for a little bit. But we are so excited to have you all here today to talk about the exciting things that are happening at the division. So what we're here to talk about, we're talking about building their agency toolkits so we can all achieve that fabulous vision of possibilities now that we've been talking about over the last couple of years. How today's going to work is we're going to talk about the framework and share with you some exciting news, DDD's new provider-focused training initiatives. This is where you're going to hear all about today, folks. The training initiatives are all about expert faculty who've been able to come together to help create customized programs just for you. So you're going to hear today from the expert faculty themselves about these new initiatives. And then we're going to provide for you information on how to apply and submit your intent to participate, intent to commit, as well as how to get more information. So I want to share with you a little background on the genesis of where these initiatives have come from. And I would like to welcome our esteemed our division leader, Mary Brogan, and my co-host today to share with you all the background on what's happening. This great stuff. Mary?
Good morning, everybody around the state. And thank you, Leo. So just a little bit of background of how we got to today's webinar. And it really is anchored into the opportunities around the American Rescue Plan, or ARPA. And what that did was it, through federal legislation, increased the federal share of Medicaid claims, which allowed home and community-based service programs to fund efforts to advance services and supports. So many of you have been along with us on this journey. We identified the priorities in our spending plan through a public input and stakeholder engagement process. And this allowed us to identify a wide variety of priorities throughout the division and throughout our service system. All the initiatives that we identified in our spending plan are designed to produce sustainable change. And we've organized the spending plan priorities into these 5 different areas that you see on the screen. And next slide. So there are a variety of initiatives. Altogether, we count 14 initiatives, and a number of them are very provider focused. And they include the efforts that we've done to do the temporary increase for payment rates, to support community integration efforts as we move towards the compliance state, to strengthen the provider monitoring system. And then these 4 at the bottom, which we're going to highlight today. And those are advancing competitive integrated employment, supporting community navigator practice development, the quality management efforts, and developing positive approaches. So these initiatives are designed to assist waiver provider agencies to strengthen your infrastructure and your knowledge and your skills through focused training and practice development, or building your toolkits, as Leo said. So building on our past work, the ARPA initiatives are giving us these additional resources to continue on our system trajectory, or our pathway to ensure possibilities now and achieve our collective vision for a good system. And these are some of the milestones in our trajectory. These are our anchors that most of you are familiar with and can identify with in terms of the way that this system has been developing at a core level. It's ensuring the rights of participants to build a skilled and stable workforce through many efforts, including the rates and including our workforce initiative, direct support professional certification program, which you won't hear in this much about in this particular webinar, but we are going to revisit very soon. The other core anchor that we have is to ensure adequate funding to be able to pay for what it costs to provide services. And those have been our efforts through the years in our work with the legislature, and to ensure the fair and adequate use of resources. And along with that is access to services that are delivered with quality. Another core anchor is our growing partnerships and accountability systems, and all towards moving for more and more people to have full lives in the community. So these are our anchors. And I'm going to turn it back over to Leo.
Thank you, Mary, so much. It's so nice to be able to be grounded in the intention of what is happening. And with that knowledge, what we want to do now is explain to you the approach. And it's important that we spend time talking to you all about the approach towards these training initiatives, because they're going to be very different from the trainings you may have experienced in the past. Now, all of these changes are really designed for that sustainability, for that sticky factor, right? So we're really talking about systems change, that we want to be able at the very basic, right? So at the beginning, you know, where we've been, we've learned a lot. We have a lot of awareness about what the issues are, where our opportunities are for improvement. And there's a very strong desire across the provider community, amongst families, amongst participants, as well as the Department of Health, to really move the system forward. So where we are right now is an opportunity through the ARPA funding to be able to increase knowledge and ability for us to be able to make those levers, right? Push those levers, make those changes to be able to get where we want to be, and have a system in place that not only reinforces it, but it checks to make sure it's there. So as I talk about that kind of organizational change framework, it really is mirrored in the strategy towards how the training and implementation will be implemented. When we talk about training, we talk about acquisition of knowledge and development of skills. We usually start off with the basic, right? Oh, did we do a good job training you? If we have the opportunity, we'll be able to do, traditionally, check to see if we learn new knowledge and skills that's acquired. What we don't get a chance to do often is to really check to see if what has been learned can actually be applied to the back at the job at the most important juncture, as well as looking in the, coming back a little bit later into the future to see if the outcomes have really occurred and if they've got the stickiness, right? Because of learning and reinforcement. Now, this framework, right, is the ideal framework for any training initiative, is what we use for measuring and evaluating. And this is how the training initiatives that we're going to be talking about this morning have been constructed. So gone are the days of, one day, one way, do as I say and go away and the training is over. We're moving more towards a structured, methodic approach to multiple day training that might be multimodal on Zoom, small groups, general work, community legwork. Social learning is very much a part of everything that we're doing to be able to reflect and to share with each other within your provider community, as well as an opportunity to demonstrate the application of learning. This is how the training is also being transformed and what we're initiating in these endeavors. So what that means is that for each initiative, which is a targeted focused area, there's going to be a different set of faculty, expert faculty from who you're here from today, who spent time to customize and design the instruction for you. The size of the cohorts are going to be different based upon the content and the length of time. The content is, again, designed for you in your island communities, whether it's on the neighbor island, rural Oahu, or urban Honolulu. It's going to be targeting to your needs and your consumers and your participants you're serving. So therefore, with having all these different kind of variables, the commitment time may change amongst all of them. So this is not one size fits all training. Each initiative has its own set of criteria. It's going to have its own rubric. So we want to spend time today to make sure that you are able to see what these initiatives look like and are able to be able to understand how your agency can benefit from them. So let's get started. Let's start talking about our DDD provider-focused training initiatives that we've got today. As Mary mentioned, there are 4: the integrated employment, community navigator, quality management, and positive approaches. As I mentioned, we've got national subject matter experts. If you saw our commercial, we talked about the challenges about being in Hawaii. Well, with technology, we're able to bring them into your office. It's that telepresence. They're going to be right there sitting next to you at your desk, except on the other side of your computer. The focus is going to be on teams. So it's not one representative from your agency, it's going to be multiple. And we'll share with you what those teams will look like today, as well as when more information comes out for each of the initiatives. These cycles will occur basically over the next year, year and a half to 2 years. It's a combination of online and in person, but there is going to be an application process where you're going to share with us information about your organization and how you will utilize the information. Because really, we want to move away from just doing the basic reaction, how good was the training today, to really get to the point where we can actually move to getting results oriented that we can see a long-term benefit, especially with the significant impact and investment from ARPA. So it's pretty simple. You're going to complete an online application. You're going to send it in, wait to get the response. We'll release some training dates as well as technical information to support it. Because after all, as you heard in the commercial, this is Provider Island. Nobody's going to do this by themselves. You are all survivors. And this is the Department of Health's chance to help get you there and where we need to be. So let's get started. Our first initiative we want to talk about today is the Advanced Integrated Competitive Employment. 6 agencies will be selected to participate. Now let's give us a little bit of background on why this initiative. Well, as you know, and you've heard it, often, and you've seen it in the newspaper, and you've seen it on the internet. that when we talk about, in Hawaii in particular, the percentage of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities who actually are served in integrated employment, the numbers are pretty low. We're at 3%. And this was data that was just released looking at 2018. We've always talked about these employment outcomes, how we really want to be able to raise the number, move the dial. When we think about how much employment is important to us, we want that same kind of feeling for our participants. There's been a lot of activity nationally, federally, as well as in our state to assist with that. National reports and recommendations from bodies telling us this is the best way, these are the best practices. The Office of Disability Employment Policy has come out for the Department of Labor saying, this is where we need to be, states. We are so fortunate that in the state of Hawaii, we have the enabling legislation that eliminated that sub-minimum wage for our individuals. So we have the infrastructure in place from a policy perspective to begin this process of transformation of how it is that our participants can be fully integrated into competitive employment. I'm going to ask my partner today, Mary Brogren, to introduce our esteemed faculty who's going to be sharing with us what this initiative is going to look like. Mary, tell us about John.
Thank you so much. And we're so excited that our team has been able to assemble faculty that have made a national impact. And these are the faculty leaders, and they represent their organizations and the teams that are going to come and work with us. So starting with John Butterworth, who is a good friend of ours. He's been working with Hawaii for a number of years, helping to advance our employment initiatives through the SELM network, the State Employment Leadership Network that we are a member state of. He's a senior research fellow at the University of Massachusetts in Boston, and has over 40 years of experience as a researcher, a consultant, a trainer, and a manager of community-based employment and related day services, and has also worked as a direct support professional. His current work includes state system change, national and state level data on employment. They produce, ICI produces a lot of the data that states use to index their own work against and track their improvements over time, as well as outcomes for people. And he works at improving the delivery of best practice supports. So he works with states, community providers, advocates to support the development of supports and services. Leo mentioned best practices, and what he and his team are bringing are really those best practices. So we're going to give you a message from John.
Okay, let's get this going.
Hi, my name is John Butterworth. I'm with the Institute for Community Inclusion at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. We've been privileged to have a working relationship with DDD on employment policy and strategy for over 10 years. And part of what's exciting about this initiative is the chance to move that from a focus on policy level issues to a focus on building implementation opportunities, working on building capacity with those of you who are part of the provider community, working some with case managers to build skills in employment, and supporting people to be on a pathway to employment. So just a little bit about the Institute for Community Inclusion and where we're coming from. We're based in Boston, but have staff spread pretty broadly across the country. We have a primary focus, and have for over 40 years, on employment, particularly of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, but really more broadly cross disability. We have a group that does a lot of work with the vocational rehabilitation system. We have individuals who work primarily on services that would come under DDD's umbrella, including waiver services. We have people who work on education and transition, and particularly post-secondary education through our Think College initiative. In the area of technical assistance and provider transformation, moving ourselves to a place where we can shift business models and build an emphasis on employment as a primary outcome. That's an area we've worked in for over 25 years, and we've done that with organizations spread pretty widely across the country. We've done it through some of our research initiatives, and part of what you'll have a chance to spend time on is some of our findings about organizations that have been successful in making a transformation to focus more heavily on employment, and I should say more broadly, community life engagement, but the particular focus here is employment. There will be several people that you'll have a chance to work with on a day-to-day basis as part of this initiative. All of us are people who have been direct employment support providers, have managed employment services for community-based organizations. But we also bring this research base and now over 35 years of tracking data on employment and day service outcomes on a national and state level. I'm going to just turn on a couple of slides to give a feel for the key elements of what we're going to have a chance to work on together. There are three major parts to what DDD has asked us to get involved in. The first is provider transformation, and that's particularly working on supporting you as providers to expand your capacity to support people to obtain and succeed in competitive integrated employment. I'll talk in a second about some of the things that could focus on, but it's really a customized opportunity to brainstorm and build action plans, get some outside support in thinking through what the right path forward is for you as an organization. The second part is a little bit of work with case managers. Our long-term involvement with Hawaii and DDD has been as part of the State Employment Leadership Network, and that's had more of a policy focus, but more recently we've built a self-directed learning opportunity for case managers on engaging people around employment, having an effective employment conversation, and moving people down a pathway to employment. So some engagement with case managers and case manager supervisors is the second piece. And then finally, all of this experience helps us to be more effective at informing DDD policy and strategy. So the first part of that, and really by far the largest part of this work, is working directly with members of the provider community. There are a few parts to that. A detailed strategic assessment that'll give us a chance to get to know you deeply as an organization, give you a chance to do some reflection on what's working, what you would like to be working better as an organization. We have a very particular approach to thinking about that that I'll get to in a second. We'll also take time to talk to members of your community, key stakeholders, individuals you support, family members, board members, direct support staff, to understand how you're approaching employment now and how it fits into the whole of your work, because context is everything and people's individual experiences are everything. With that strategical assessment will happen as part of, we call it a site visit, given the times that may be virtual or it may be in person, or an in-person part may happen later on in the project. The third part is an individual organizational action plan, thinking about what's going to help you move forward. And again, very much customized to your focus and your needs. Technical assistance that'll continue over a period of a little over a year. That'll include at least monthly check-ins, but also work in between that could happen on a variety of levels in your organization, more the business level or more the direct support level. And finally, a chance to learn from each other and have some topical learning opportunities with other folks who are part of this initiative. As we do that assessment, we'll be thinking across 10 elements that have come through in our work, both our work directly with organizations, but also some of the research that informs our work. They cluster in these kinds of ways. A couple of elements that focus on the values and goals that drive our work and how you frame those as an organization. A cluster of elements that focus on infrastructure. A lot of that is reallocation and restructuring of resources, how time gets spent, how dollars get spent, how you use space. Building a communication plan, building an ongoing approach to staff development. And that for us is really going beyond staff training to the kind of coaching and implementation support that employment support professionals need on a day-to-day basis as very independent jobs. Performance measurement and quality assurance and how you use data to inform your planning and the development of community partnerships. And then the nuts and bolts part, of course, is employment consultant practices, how you build customer focus and how you engage the folks that you support, keeping a holistic look at individuals' lives and building a very active, just do it approach to person-centered job development. We'll take time to reflect on each of those with you and use that reflection as a basis for building action plans. So the second part is case manager training, and case managers in Hawaii will have access to the virtual training. We'll also be doing some training with case manager leaders and supervisors to support them in understanding the content of the training and supporting individual case managers in implementing the experience they have in the e-learning, the virtual course, supporting a vision for employment. And finally, we have plans to provide case managers with some opportunities to come together and address the questions and challenges that they face as they work on strengthening employment outcomes and helping people navigate through the system, both the DD system, but also partner systems that are part of the employment process, like your vocational rehabilitation agency. Oops. And the final part, I'll just leave that slide up for a second. If you're interested in reaching out for more information and a better sense of some of the detail of that, we're welcome to talk. Wendy Lino is the Hawaii lead in our development of this work, and you can reach out to me directly if you're interested in how we'll be approaching it or some of the resources that I talked about. We'll be using what we learn from the work with providers and the work with case managers to support our work with Hawaii on policy and strategy development. So we hope to have a chance to work with you, and we look forward to getting deeper, particularly in the direct support of individuals in our work with Hawaii. Thank you.
Thank you, John. That's awesome. I'm so excited for these opportunities that we have with you. All right, let us keep going. Now, just to let you know that John is actually online with us today, and we'll be taking questions a little bit later in our presentation. So this is a good chance to remind you about using the Q&A box that you have today in your webinar to begin to ask questions that you may want us to have John address for you this morning. So in summary, what you need to know about building this toolbox, again, designed for employment providers. We are looking at 16, so it's going to be a process. As we mentioned, organizational design is the organizational transformation is the design buzzwords that we're using. And you heard from John directly on why it's going to take a little bit longer, why we're looking at that year-long opportunity to kind of reflect and grow and really understand that, like you said, context is everything. Understanding the context of the work that you're doing in your location. And then Wendy will be the point of contact. So go ahead, start putting in your questions, and we can address them a little bit later, because we're ready to go to our next training initiative. Oh, sorry, a little too soon. Just let me know a little bit more about the process. Okay, so I mentioned a little bit earlier. So what we need you to know is that this month, if this is something that you're interested in, we want you to submit your intent to commit. It's an online form, some basic information about your organization. The Department of Health will receive it. Based upon the intent to commit, applicants will then be invited to submit a formal application, which is going to be a little bit longer. It's going to have some specific questions. You're going to have to think hard on this one. Think about your resources, your community, your staffing, who your partners are. After those applications are then submitted, you'll receive a notification of acceptance into this cohort within the training initiative. And the training activities will be kicking off June 1st. So that may not necessarily be the first day of class instruction, but the first day of the activities to begin the process of getting the initiative underway, like identifying your team, gathering more information. We'll be providing for you today during the webinar in the chat a little bit later today, the link to the form on the intent to commit. We'll drop it for you in the chat box. We'll also drop it for you at the end of the performance. Kind of feels like a performance today at the end of the webinar, but you're also getting the email. So we're going to make sure you have multiple opportunities to access the information you need to be able to be considered for the training initiatives. Yukino? All right, let's go on to our next training initiative. I'm so excited about this one. I'm excited about all of them. Don't you feel the energy about what this can do for your agencies? Community Navigator practice development is something that's near and dear to my heart. There will be 10 agencies that will be selected for this initiative. And, we decided to, why don't we go ahead and have a little drop in on a little service plan meeting, an IP meeting, just to kind of give us an idea of why we probably need some advanced training on community navigation. So we have HIPAA consent. You're allowed to be part of this planning meeting. So we're going to go ahead and share it with you.
I appreciate you coming to our meeting. This is a meeting where we brainstorm how we're going to implement your ISP goals. So tell me, Riker, what is it you would like to do?
Well, it's simple. All I want to do is create videos and put them on the internet. I want to be able to learn how to animate my drawings and turn them into videos to share with people and friends. I want to talk to other people who do this. I need to find voice actors besides me to do the voices for my characters and maybe help with the narration. I like to add music and sounds to my stories. I want to have my own YouTube channel. I need to go out in the community and talk to people about what kinds of videos they want to watch. I want to go to art shows and video festivals to see what other people are doing. I want to make videos about COVID and being safe. It's simple. I know what I want to do.
Hey, have you thought about making a Facebook page?
I have one already.
Oh, okay. Would you like to make a TikTok video with you and your friends, maybe dancing?
No. If I wanted to make TikTok videos, I would have said so. I want to make animated videos out of my drawings. I have hundreds of them. It's simple.
Well, I don't know if we have anyone on staff that can help you with that right now. Yeah, and I don't even know what kind of equipment you would need or where you could get equipment and stuff. And of course, you'd have to pay for it all because I don't think anyone would just lend you their stuff. The kind of equipment you're talking about is probably pretty expensive. As far as art shows or video festivals, I've never heard of them, so they probably don't exist.
So what you're telling me is you can't help him do this? I thought this service was called Community Navigator to help him make connections and figure things out.
Well, yeah, it's our job to help him navigate the community. Like if he wanted to go to the library, we would teach him where it is, what time it opens, how to walk there and back safely, navigate the community. It's not our job to figure out all these things. Otherwise, we'd be called community researchers.
Oh, who's going to help me then?
All right. Who's going
I
to?
appreciate
Who's going to help Riker? Well, we're going to tell you who's going to help Riker. You are, because you're going to be participating in the Community Navigator Practice Development. So I'm going to ask Mary to again introduce our fabulous esteemed faculty for this initiative.
So we're welcoming Jessica Wooster back to Hawaii through this initiative. And many of you know her in her work with us through the years. She is the owner of Employment Insight, a company that is helping people all over the place now to advance their navigation into the community. She has a extensive experience in career development and customized employment, and she operates her own employment services company in the Southwest Florida and Honolulu area. She has worked in the past as a program specialist with us and an employment specialist manager, performing job development, job coaching, employer engagement, and TA to programs that offer customized employment services. She has been instrumental in establishing collaboration between nonprofit, private, and government entities to create system change. And this has improved experiences for individuals with IDD in acquiring competitive integrated employment. She offers technical support, individualized instruction, and develops tools and resources to help service provider organizations, state departments, and career centers develop their capacity to successfully serve people with disabilities. I'm going to turn it back to Leo to tell you what you need to know about building this toolkit.
Thanks, Mary. And you know what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to spotlight Jessica now. Because she's going to.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
That's what we're doing next.
We're going to.
We're fortunate to have Jessica live here, and we're going to spotlight her. I didn't see that in my slide. Sorry.
Sorry, and I probably didn't put it in the notes too. I did not put it in the notes. So, anyway, let's go ahead and get Jess on, and she can tell us all about the initiative. Good morning, Jess.
Good morning. I am so glad to be here and see you all. And I want to tell Riker, who we just saw, you are obviously a talented artist who has a vision for your work. And you're in luck, because community navigation is community research, relationship building, and life changing. I'm sure my face is familiar to some of you, but not all. I'm Jessica Wooster, like Mary said, and I am so grateful to once again be engaging with the dedicated and passionate people of Hawaii. As some of you may know, I have extensive experience in providing management to home and community-based services. And as the owner of Employment Insight, I currently offer technical support, individualized instruction, and develop tools and resources to help service provider organizations develop their capacity to successfully serve people with disabilities with acquiring social valued roles and engaging in their communities in ways that they're part of the community, not just in it. Which is why I am truly excited about DDD's decision to add community navigation services to the home and community-based waiver. While working with providers in Hawaii, I understood there were two keys that opened the door of success for community-based providers. The first was excellent staff, which many of you have. The second was equipping that excellent staff with the tools they need to do their jobs well. Both of these keys can be elusive at times. However, let's work together to equip excellent staff to engage in a community navigation process that leads to participants' ability to participate in the community in ways they never thought possible. Karen Clay, disability advocate, said it best. The severity of one's disability does not determine their level of potential. The greatest barriers that persons with disabilities have to overcome are not steps or curbs, but expectations. Throughout my career, I have attended many training sessions. I often became frustrated when I went to apply the theories taught and encountered unexpected obstacles without anyone to problem solve with. You will not have that problem with this training. There will be a discussion thread for attendees to ask questions as they complete their assignments in their own community. As I have taught some of these modules in other states, I have found that providers and staff surprise themselves with positive outcomes. Learning about theories is nice, but it doesn't enhance lives if the application isn't practiced, which is why we'll be learning and doing. There will be 6 3-hour interactive online training sessions that follow a logical succession, each building on the previous session. The sessions are geared toward provider staff and managers. They're held once a month in a Google Classroom with access to a message board and direct email to myself. There are 5 community-based assignments that provide an opportunity to demonstrate acquired skills and receive feedback. Students who engage in these sessions and complete the assignments will require the tools they need to enjoy deliberately immersing themselves in the communities they love and intentionally guiding the participants they support to be an integral part of the community. Some of the sessions we'll be covering are becoming an expert on your participant's neighborhood through neighborhood mapping, applying social valued role theory, the overall goal, mastering informed choice to promote health, safety, and independence, conducting environmental assessments, systematic instruction for lifelong learning in the community, and safely fading supports, because if you must go, you should go with confidence. Once these sessions are complete, there will be 2 additional in-person trainings on conducting data collection and analysis and developing a community navigation plan. I am really excited about this journey to help you enhance the lives of participants you support in a profound way. Thank you for your time, and I hope you choose to engage in learning about community navigation with me.
Thank you so much, Jess. It's good to have you back and getting us all excited about this opportunity to spend that quality time with you. So as Jess mentioned, oh my goodness, as Jessica mentioned, you know, we're looking at teams of 2, a manager, supervisor, service supervisor, and a direct support worker. So you got to have that combination. We have a limited number of seats. You know, how to expect and how to project out. It's about 40 hours of you know, hard earnest work over the course of the year. Each of those virtual sessions are 3.5 hours each. And as she mentioned, there are 5 field-based community assessments, which you're going to find could be gold for your organization. And Wendy's going to be the point of contact for you as we move forward on this training initiative. Jessica will also be here to answer questions for you at the end. So please go ahead and, you know, start bringing in some questions into the Q&A box. So as we recap, you know, what to expect from the Community Navigator Practice Development, I'm going to ask you to submit your applications in soon on the 19th. There's going to be a quick turnaround. You'll receive notification of acceptance at the end of the month. And again, looking forward to kicking and launching this initiative off in May 9th. So application now, get it going, get started pronto. Thank you, Jessica, for being with us today. And I look forward to hearing from your question, the answer period that we're going to have a little bit later on in this morning's broadcast. All right, let's get on to the next initiative, quality management. Now, this initiative is being designed to be available for all providers to be able to get that overall training framework and understanding of quality management into the organization. Now, let's spend a little time talking about the why. You know, many of you have that June 2024 date either tattooed across your forehead or have spray painted it inside of your office, because that is the day that your quality management program needs to be operational and running as defined in the last set of provider standards. Those plans have to be in place. You're rocking and rolling within the community. Now, you know, that's a large undertaking, and the Department of Health recognizes that. So in order to make it make sense for everybody, they've put together your quality journey, right? To actually has broken it down into milestones. So we know that this year, June 30th, 2022, your quality management structure, your purpose, your leadership team, and begin to identify the priorities need to be conducted. Because next year at the same time, that's when there's an expectation that you're going to begin your baseline measurement and really fully defining your projects, that you're spending that last year, 9 months of that last year, 2024, really looking at implementing it, monitoring the change, evaluating, and looking for that stickiness. See, that stickiness doesn't just talk about training that we talked about earlier. It's everything that we do. It's really about change. Now, the approach towards the change that we're looking at. I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Mary to kind of ground us into, the importance of these quality management structures and these practices and how they get built.
Okay, thanks, Leo. As you know, and as Leo reminded us, the standards provide the overall pathway and steps over the next few years to build quality management structures and practices. Many of you have this already in place, especially programs that might be accredited. It's a classic way of building a quality management program. So really the focus of this initiative is to assist you in as you build your own quality management structure and practices. And it'll provide that focused training to everybody with a drill down for agencies that really want to engage with our team. So it'll help you to build your sustainable cultures of quality as you build your program, how to establish those teams, who should be on your committee, really discussing quality. You'll learn how to develop your written description of your quality management program, because that helps to codify and to be the guide for how you're going to implement your program. It'll teach you how to use those classic tools for continuous quality improvement, how to do analysis, how to do root cause for problems that you see, and how to really start to implement and use data and those data trends. So, and then the other part is how to develop your quality improvement activities. And I might say these are things that DDD also follows. So this is the process that we follow in our own quality improvement. And then overall, the sustainability is, how do you evaluate what you've done? Are your improvements working? How do you remeasure to make sure that the changes are working, or do we need to adjust? So that is kind of the overall approach in teaching those skills and quality management framework. And I'll go to the next slide. And this is our faculty, led by Mary Sowers, who's the Executive Director of the National Association of State Directors of Developmental Disability Services. And we've worked very closely with NASDS and Mary Sowers, especially over the past 2 years. She has really been at the helm in supporting states to navigate those rocky seas during the COVID pandemic, and advocated at the federal level and with CDC tirelessly for our population, and really helped to channel voices like mine into that conversation. In Mary's career, she has worked both at the state and federal levels. She led Maryland's efforts around advancing HCBS services for individuals with IDD in the early 2000s, and then served in multiple leadership roles within CMS, including in the Disabled and Elderly Health Programs group of CMS, focusing on Medicaid, long-term services and supports. And notably, like many in the field, Mary has worked as a direct support professional. In this particular initiative, we are incredibly fortunate that NASDS is engaged with the Council on Quality and Leadership, or CQL, to provide focused training to our provider network. So it's a very robust training schedule that we have, with all providers having access to the general training, and then some focused work with agencies that are will want to turn into applications for that part of it. So I'm gonna,
My name is
Teacher
Mary
Mary.
Sowers, and I'm the Executive Director of the National Association of State Directors of Developmental Disability Services. I'm thrilled to be here today to talk with you about some ARPA initiatives underway or getting underway soon in Hawaii. We are very thrilled to be able to partner with Hawaii on a quality journey that will improve the lives of individuals with disabilities across the state and hopefully provide providers with the tools necessary to really implement meaningful quality improvement activities in their day-to-day work. So we know that the state of Hawaii has been partnering with you on providing important quality services for individuals with developmental disabilities and their families, really driving toward a person-centered approach and system of support that recognizes individuals in the context of their families and really lifts up the individual's voice in almost every aspect of service delivery. We believe that the work that Hawaii has planned in many of the ARPA initiatives has great promise to support individuals even further in reaching their individual goals and being meaningful contributors to their communities. We recognize the importance of continuous quality improvement in all of the work that we do. And in order to do it effectively, there needs to be strong partnership. So we are extraordinarily thrilled and awed by Hawaii's vision to partner with providers to make sure that not only is the state undertaking a journey of quality to build a culture of support and learning and continuous improvement, but indeed working with each of the provider agencies in the state to build a similar repertoire. We will spend time with all of you in building skills necessary to identify what data you might have available, how that can inform quality improvement activities, and importantly, how to implement specific targeted or broad-based initiatives to really move the needle toward quality of life for individuals you support. We are excited to dive in on all the aspects of continuous quality improvement with you. And we very much hope that you'll take the opportunity to engage all of your staff and individuals that you support and families, because as we've come to talk about, quality is no one's in particular job, but it's everyone's job. But there are many tools in the toolbox that we can use to make sure that we're making important contributions to individuals as they live their lives. So we're excited to get started with all of you on this work and look forward to really continuing a quality journey in Hawaii.
All right, that's pretty exciting. All right, so let's just talk about things you need to know about this toolkit. We talked about the milestone dates, right? So just to let you know that the training will be broken down into sections that relate specifically to the milestone. Okay, so that allows you to really participate in a targeted fashion to be able to focus on those deliverables, knowing that each section builds upon each other. So even at starting with the first section, which is focusing on the quality management program structure and priority selection, that's really going to influence how it is that you're going to be implementing and operating in 2024. So they are separate, although they build upon each other, but they're really focused to help you accomplish those milestones. So we're excited to take a look at the training schedule that way. What else you need to know? It's for all providers. As I mentioned, it's milestone driven, so it's really going to be focusing on that area. So if that's a place that you feel like, yeah, I need to better understand, what are those priorities I should be looking at? How do I determine that process? What's going to work for me? You're going to want to sign up for that section and bring your team in to be able to glean, to be able to put it together to develop the milestones. As we mentioned, in most of what you've heard today, the opportunity for peer learning is significant, right? So again, it's bouncing ideas off each other, sharing where you've been, sharing your future. So there'll be facilitated sessions and opportunities to be able to bring provider agencies together as part of the curriculum. It's an exciting way to do the work. And from what we know from training, it's one of the best practices. Tracy Kamo is going to be their point of contact for you for this training initiative. Now, how this is going to work, the process, similarly like in employment, you're going to submit an intent to commit, letting us know, hey, I'm on board for this. Taking a look at those sections, you want to do them all, or the ones you want to participate in. At the end of the month, we'll begin to start releasing the training schedule for you. and then starting the activities in May. So these have a nice turnaround. It's laid out over time for each of the sections, but we really want to get the first section started because we've got that deliverable due this year on June 30. All right. So thank you so much for hanging in there with us so far. We've gone through 3 of these incredible initiatives. At this point, we want to talk to you a little bit more about the 4th and last initiative that's coming soon. It's coming soon because the state's finalizing the contract. And we want to make sure that that contract is all good to go before we ink in cyber ink on virtual presentation, what those dates are. But what we can tell you about the initiative is everything else. This initiative is really going to look at positive approaches for people experiencing challenging behaviors. So, I got to ask you, I'm going to just kind of put it out there.
Remember last week when we had our team meeting?
Has anyone ever had a phone call like this?
Archie was acting up. Well, it's happening. I don't know what to do. He's screaming at the top of his lungs and is punching walls. I've tried everything. Yeah, okay. Well, I tried that. I had him count to 10. I had him wash his face. I tried to give him M&Ms. Yeah, No, I was able to move quickly so I didn't get hit this time. Luckily, I was able to lock him in his room. Should I call the mom to come home and give him his meds? March? Hello? Should I call the cops? March?
All right. Now, has any of that happened to you? Maybe, maybe not. Well, we just want to be able to let you know that we feel your pain. So at this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Mary to come back again as my co-host to kind of share with you the intention, the priorities, and really the objectives of what this positive approaches training initiative is looking like for our provider community. Mary?
Okay, thank you, Leo. This particular initiative is one that we've laid some foundation for over the years. The recording that you heard might sound very familiar. We often get really stuck and don't know what to do around people who are experiencing challenges. And so this is really the opportunity to stand back and develop what is our approach for Hawaii. So some of these, what we started with was, what are the issues? What are the problems that we're seeing? And some of this might resonate with you. We think that individuals with complex and long-term behavioral challenges need positive approaches. Their issues are severe and can often be life-threatening. People are often prescribed high doses of multiple psychiatric medications that have more of a sedating than therapeutic effect. Wondering if that sounds familiar. Often behavior support plans are skewed towards restrictive interventions and may not be the answer or the key in supporting people. Effective approaches and full understanding of the person from a whole person perspective may not have yet been achieved. So what's going on with them across the board from a holistic approach? For people who struggle, there is an overall lack of understanding, lack of coordination, lack of integration of their biopsychosocial and contextual needs. Their family relationships are often stressed, and the individuals have few opportunities for integration. And as we heard in the recording, direct support professionals and many others often lack the skills, knowledge and support needed to provide the evidence-based and really trauma-informed supports. So that was the problem statement. And I see we've moved on to the how might we's. As in DDD, as we plan forward, sorry, my child is calling me. We often start with something called the how might we questions. So for us, as we designed with the group, it was how might we better understand people who have difficult lives for a variety of reasons. There are many reasons. How might we improve our own skills and services? How might we enter into this work through that holistic, compassionate, and human-centered design approach? How might we better understand trauma and the role of trauma in people's lives? How might we have a long-term view of the person, their family, and their lives, not just the immediate crisis? How might we include families in such an approach? And who else do we need to engage beyond the traditional people in a person's team? And so the next slide. So these are some of the guiding principles that we're landing on in this initiative. These are the foundations. One is safety. We seek to ensure that our interactions with all individuals, with families, with staff, with leadership, are physically, psychologically, and emotionally safe, and done through a way that is ethical and productive. Equity is the other foundation. We seek to ensure that what we do is culturally humble and sensitive as we talk with and work among people in Hawaii. We have the foundation of being strengths-based to discover people's strengths and build on them. And of course, person-centered. Our work is centered on individuals with IDD who often have mental health challenges. And whenever possible, we prefer for self-advocates to be present in all discussions, discovery planning, and policy recommendations. So these are some of the foundations for the overall initiative. It is a complex initiative and does interface with many others. So the next slide, the pillars or the approach that the faculty is going to take is to build that awareness and skills, which is often something that people really understand as a foundation, whether you talk to physicians, practitioners, to families, the trauma-informed and the brain, and the importance of positive approaches is something that is fairly easy for people to get their head around. But how do we sustain that and apply it? We sustain it by building a cadre of local champions for this work. We want it to be integrated into the work in our system. We want to approach it through a cultural and organizational change framework, as you've heard in the other initiatives. And then how do we sustain? It's something called codifying change. How do we write it down and make it happen? You know, we're big on in DDD on the policies and procedures, but also you are very dependent on that at the provider agency level. What are your own training requirements going to be for your staff going forward, and other ways to make sure that we are onboarding new staff? So the next slide is, so this is our instructional design, our approach. We are still in the contracting phase of this, but we are engaging with 2 psychiatrists who work nationally in this area. And once we introduce them in a focused way, you will probably recognize their names. And then there's another a guy I call a change agent. He's a clinician. He's the CEO of a large organization in Oregon who has done work extensively in Hawaii. So that's the group that we commonly refer to as the dream team. Very skilled, and we're extremely fortunate to have them aboard. They suggested that we start with not just jumping into training, but really acknowledging and talking with staff about the collective sense of grief and trauma due to the pandemic. This is true for me personally, for our staff, and I think for staff in our provider agency. So how do we start there as a base, and also with families? And the other approach, one of the faculty always tells us, who are your hardest people? Because really a system is only as good as how we support and approach people who challenge us the most, and be successful in a way that is person-centered and kind and positive with them. So it really is that let's work with the hardest people and see what's going on. So I think I'm turning it back to Leo at this point. Thank you for listening.
Oh, thank you, Mary. So you kind of got an idea of where we're going with this this training initiative. So again, it's broad train. There'll be multiple opportunities for training. There will be broad training for the entire network, as well as focus providers training that's targeted and specific towards individuals for a smaller number. It's also going to have that multimodal approach to allow you the time and the support to be able to test those interventions, test those strategies, see what works, make some adaptations. And so we're looking at this as a longer process, concluding in the early part of 2024. And Dr. Lee is going to be your point of contact. We're going to get moving on getting you onboarded with this training initiative simultaneously, so we can maximize the time that we have together, in particular with the faculty. So we're going to ask you to submit your intent to commit, and then once the training schedule is released in May, we anticipate the training activities will be beginning in June, based upon the way things are looking right now as far as the contract goes and the milestones and getting started. So as I mentioned, the links will be provided for you at the end of the webinar, as well as via email. So, okay, we are now at the end of our formal portion of the presentation, and we're ready to address some of the questions that you've entertained and you've shared with us. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and we have our team on today of our, not only some of our subject matter experts, our faculty today that are with us, as well as our DD division point of contacts with us for these initiatives. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Tracy Comeau, who is coordinating and leading our effort on the health department side for the quality management initiative, to go ahead and answer our first question. So to give Tracy some time to unmute herself.
And I just want to, sorry to interrupt, but I believe this question, and Cecily, you can clarify, might be for John Butterworth, because he talked about the performance measures that are related to measuring success with the employment initiatives. So I believe that's what Cecily is asking for.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Mary, on that one.
So, John, the question is regarding performance measures and QA that you mentioned. Are there best practices or suggested metrics?
Yeah, we'd spent some time on both as part of the work on both outcome measures. How do you identify and use outcome measures as a way of setting goals for yourself as an organization, some benchmarks you want to reach, but we'd also spend some time looking at performance measures in terms of how staff use their time and the kinds of things they invest that time in. Is too much time being spent on administrative responsibilities? Is too much time being invested in travel? Is your balance of time between job development and other kinds of activities the way you want it to be? And are you doing the right things for job development? So we'll be implementing some ways to identify those investments and help set some benchmarks in terms of how you engage with people.
All right, thank you, John. So since we have you on, we'll go ahead and ask you the next question that's come in. And I think this is a combination of a John and Mary response. One of the most important parts of the equation in this employment initiative are the employers themselves, right, in the community. If you could just share with us how the employers are being involved and participating in the process.
So for the provider transformation work, the primary focus is going to be developing strategies at an organizational level, you as a community provider, to engage employers effectively. So we won't have an explicit focus on employer engagement as a strategy, because our focus is really on building that capacity structurally and from a skill perspective within your organization. You know, that the broad issue of employer engagement on a larger level, on a community level, is something that can be looked at from that kind of higher level strategy and policy development piece, and is certainly part of the memorandum of understanding and the work done between vocational rehabilitation and you guys in the DD system in DDD. So it's something that'll get addressed at a different level, but the primary focus for the organizational work will be on building those skills for employer engagement.
Thank you. So, you know, some other questions have come up about, you know, since this is all exciting, right? You know, what if I want to participate in more than one initiative? Yes, please go ahead and apply. If your agency is in multiple islands, consider submitting separate application for your island teams to be put into and considered into the hopper. As far as the process to submit, we'll be dropping you all today in the chat, as well as afterwards in an email, the links for you to complete the online forms to be considered. All right, we have another question specific about the navigator. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to put this question out there, and this might be a combination of people from our team responding. So for our individuals who are already on CBI or discovery and career planning programs in DDD, is community navigation an addition? And how might that affect the budget designated for that individual participant? So I'm going to go ahead and have one of our team.
Yeah, so I'll start, and if Jen can see if I'm answering the right way. Community Navigator is a separate service, and the process is to become a provider for that service. So many agencies have been wondering whether they should step into doing Community Navigator, but weren't sure how to provide it. So this is really the opportunity, if you want to provide this service, if you have staff that really, you know, would be great for this, this is the group that Jessica's going to work with. And so that's the process. And Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe Community Navigator will affect the person's individual supports budget. Is that correct?
Yes, you are correct. And everything you said was correct. That it is an application. Yeah, it's an application process as well to add this as a service. And so this training will really help to provide you with the qualifications and the training that's needed. So yes, yes to all.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good stuff. All right. So can you tell us more about if any of the providers have been approved for Community Navigator yet? I think folks are interested on the length of time it's going to take to get approved because they've submitted an application previously.
Sorry, Leo, I don't see that question, but are they saying that they did submit an application? Because
yes.
So I think it was a Leo question. I believe we've had one provider express interest, but I don't think that there are any current providers for it. So it's really that opportunity to rekindle your interest in Community Navigator and just what all the possibilities are. And then this training opportunity, how we're going to invest in the providers who want to do this. So,
and then we'll have the contract folks follow up with this for our person who's put the request in from here. All right, so here's another great question to ask. Do I have to sign up for one of these initiatives? I'm gonna put that back to our leadership to go ahead and respond to that question.
Nobody's forcing you to sign up, but it is the opportunity of a lifetime, really. We have never really had the opportunity to invest at the level that we are doing in advancing provider practices and really taking advantage of the funding and the extraordinary faculty that we have. There's nothing that says you have to sign up, but we are going to ask that all providers do come to the quality management because that is a requirement in the standard. So it would behoove you to participate in those trainings. I would say that the positive approaches is really important across the board. But the application process is really for you to step into the space and to start to think about who on your team should be involved, who are the core people, and how are you going to be involved. So it's really to start activating your plans for optimizing your participation in these opportunities. So I don't know if anybody else on my team has anything else to add to that.
I think you did a great job kind of summarizing. So there's no arm twisting, but it's really, again, like Mary said, an opportunity of a lifetime. And the method in which, being a trainer myself, the method by which this is being done is the highest level of training that can be provided in that hierarchy of training. And so please, 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 I would strongly encourage you to make this a priority for your organization.
And you may have different team members in different initiatives. So, I would encourage you to, if you are seeing more than one initiative, for example, if you're an employment provider and you also work with people who experience behavioral challenges, it may be a way to train a diverse set of people in your organization.
Thank you. All right, so let's recap where we're at. There are 4 initiatives right now that we're speaking to that are part of this larger framework, right? Integrated employment, community navigator, quality management, as well as the positive approaches. Again, the opportunity to have access to these incredible subject matter experts. It's team training, so it's just not one, right? We're expecting team to participate, over the course of the next almost 2 years, online and in person. And, you're going to have to submit the application, or at least the intent form. So that's the first way to get you in. Go ahead and contact us. Abby's going to have the contact information. We're going to be dropping into the chat today the links for the forms. And I see we are out of questions. So if there are no more questions, I want to thank everyone for being here today. I want to thank John Butterworth for being available for us today, as well as Jessica, your esteemed faculty. So you've already got an idea what it's like, what it's going to be like. It's pretty exciting. Mary Saras is just fabulous to be able to put together her video presentation for you all today. I want to thank you all for being a fabulous audience, as well as the leadership team at the division for not only being with us here today, but putting in the work to make this happen for these incredible opportunities. So on behalf of myself, Mary, any last?
We'll be pushing out the links for the intent to apply and the applications by email to all provider agencies. So if you don't see it right now, if you can't write it down, it'll come to you by email. There'll be more than one email that will come out on that. So don't panic.
Don't panic. All right. Okay. So In the meantime, until we see you next, have a lovely day. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Should you have any additional questions for our team, please feel free to reach out to us at doh.dddpossibilities@doh.hawaii.gov. Next, to view the latest news and events, please feel free to visit our website at health.hawaii.gov/DDD. Mahalo and thank you so much for joining us today.